evening, Mississippi Quilters. Terry Hartman again, and I'm here with the February edition of the America's Sew Along. So we're going to preview 4 blocks. I did 4 blocks this time, and the first one is Ocean Waves. The second one is Four Winds. The third one is Brave New World. The fourth one is Beacon Lights, and the bonus this time is Hands of Friendship. So I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that I felt like might have been important at the time when they were coming over. So I picked Ocean Waves because when they came over, they obviously came over on the Mayflower, and it was extremely hazardous, and they had to battle the waves. Apparently, from what history says, the gales were tremendous, and they were on this boat, which is very, very old, and when I was doing my research on it, they each had a space about 24 by 58 inches. So can you imagine that? How small that was? And there were 102 people on board. 102 people made it. When they originally started out, though, when they left England, they went to Holland first because they were trying to flee the English persecution for their religion. So they went to Holland, but when they were in Holland, and they were there for 10 years, they were losing their English heritage, so they left Holland. They went back to England, and they picked up 2 boats. 2 boats originally were started. So it was the Mayflower and the Speedwell. Well, they had to go back because the Speedwell was taking on water, and so they had to do the return journey. So they went back, and then the Mayflower was the only one that went across the ocean. Now, it was a very old ship. It was very small, 102 people. 1 died, and 1 was born on board, which was kind of cool if you think about it. So they battled the ocean, and I picked the second block, the Four Winds, because they were originally supposed to land near the Hudson River, and they didn't. They ended up in Plymouth, Massachusetts, because they were blown off course. So I thought, wow, what a difference it would have made had they landed in Virginia versus Plymouth, because Massachusetts winters are ridiculous, because they landed in November of 1620. I wanted to make sure I had that right. So I wanted to tell you though, as they were coming across, during one of the massive storms, their main beam broke, and they had to repair it, and they used something called a jack screw. So of course I had to look that up. I'm like, what is a jack screw? A jack screw literally is an apparatus that they put the beam horizontally in it, and then they twisted this, and as they twisted it, it raised the beam up so they could repair it. So, and it was a piece of mechanical equipment that they had on board, which I thought was pretty neat. And otherwise they would have literally been lost at sea. So they were supposed to land in Hudson Bay, Hudson River in Virginia, and they didn't. So I was like, wow, okay. And so the third block I picked because it was what we call Brave New World. And one of the things that was kind of neat was they left England because they were being persecuted for their religion. They left Holland because they were losing their English heritage. So when you kind of roll that all together, they were just basically a group of people who had no home. And they ended up coming over to America in the 1620s, which I can't even imagine. It's bad enough in the wintertime in the north. I'm from the north. I know what the winters are like up there. So they were coming to America to kind of live their life differently from what the Church of England had in mind for them. They did not like the rules of the Church of England, so they decided that they were trying to develop their religion for themselves, so they came to America. And so one of the things that happened, and what was interesting, was they landed at Plymouth Rock in 1620, and they were there. That first winter had to be ridiculously difficult. I'm sure they had capabilities, but still, you're landing in a place you don't know. The trees that are there, the animals that are there, all the things that you got to think about, and how to hunt new animals, how to harvest anything that you can find that you can make yourself available to you for an entire winter had to be really, really difficult. One of the things, though, that is a plus for them is there was a Native American tribe there that sort of befriended them. And when I say befriend, it's not really befriend. What they were looking for was an alliance. They were looking for an alliance of people that would help them conquer another group of Indians. So that's why they kind of came around. So when we talk about the first Thanksgiving in 1621, it was in autumn. It wasn't like on November, but it was in autumn, and they came together. So there were 90 of these Indians, and the Indians' name, let me make sure I have this right, was Wampanoag Indians, which is kind of, I've never heard of them. And there were 90 of them, and there were only 50 left of the original 102 people that actually came. So they got together, and they had a feast. And again, the Indian tribe was looking for an alliance, and the settlers were just trying to survive. So they came together. They ate deer. They ate cranberries. They had corn and shellfish. They roasted meat, but there was no dessert, so no pie, because there was no butter and there was no flour. So it was a very sparse beginning, but they actually did make it. So to give you an idea, though, that alliance lasted for 5 decades. So they were really serious, both sides, understanding that the Indian tribe was very thankful. They obviously had a good understanding of what the settlers were, and the settlers were very, very grateful for the Indian tribe because they would not have survived without their help. So that's the history of the blocks. Now let's talk about the blocks themselves, because some of them are quite intricate. I'm not going to lie. I literally picked these. All of the blocks in this quilt are picked solely for the story. So when you see a block, it's like something that I thought would actually help with the story of our heritage for 250 years. So the first one I did this week was the ocean waves. As you can see, now it literally, when I found the pattern, it is this pattern, which is 1/4 of the quilt. So I put all 4 of them together. Now, in the instructions that you guys are going to get, I was very specific on how to iron this, because there is nothing I hate worse than putting a pattern together and not having ironing instructions on where to press those seams so that they lay nice and flat. So I took my time on that, and you'll see little arrows on all of the pieces. I'll say, iron this way, iron that way. So just to make it a lot easier, because otherwise it's just trial and error, and once you sew it down, you have no recourse. So I tried that with this one. So I did the 12-inch, and then I was really going to try to do the 6-inch like this, and I went, no. So maybe down the road I might try, but not today. This one is the 4 winds. This one went together really, really easily. The 12-inch one did. And I will say this, in the instructions on this one, there's a picture, and I'm going to show you what I cut off of these little half square triangles, because I trimmed every single one of them. There's 24 of them in there. And the reason I want to tell you this again, and you all know to trim these squares, but if you trim them, they go together so nice. And that made a huge, huge difference on this block. Down here, it did make a difference, but at the same time, this one was really small. Now, with the small blocks, I have rediscovered my metal awl, my little pointer. And this really, really helped as I was guiding the fabric through the feed dog, so I could actually hold that fabric in place so it didn't drift. And I really feel like that really helped me with my corners and my points. So because when it gets this small, it is so easy for those feed dogs to drift off. So I had this awl, and I just kept pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, and it really made a huge, huge difference in this. Now this third block is Brave New World. Now this is the block that I'm going to put in a quilt. This is the 6-inch block. This was the original block I did, which I was not happy with because it just doesn't look good. That's all I can say. I kind of followed the pattern that was there because it had blue and blue, but I'm like, no, this is just not right. So took the time and I redid it. I'm way, way happier with this one. And this one is Beacon Lights. This one is about Paul Revere's ride. Now, one if by land, two if by sea. So what I did on this one was I put two different colors for what I would consider to be the beacon lights. So I've got two here and two here. So to kind of say one if by land, two if by sea. So I did a little bit different. And I put this sideways like this because I'm actually going to put this on point when I put it in a quilt. Now, there is no 6-inch block for this because my math brain at that point in time just couldn't do the math. So I said, no, I'm not going to try, not right now. So I came up with this, which this block is called the Hands of Friendship. And that is to kind of celebrate Thanksgiving. So all of the instructions, as I did all of the instructions, I made sure that the cutting was there. I took a lot of pictures so that as you're going along through the instructions, you'll be able to see kind of what I'm talking about. And if you reference it a little bit to try and make sure that just make it as easy as you can. Because like I said, some of these blocks are really, really tough. And I'm all about a learning experience, number one. But number two, I always want something to turn out really, really pretty. So here are the next 4 blocks. All I can say is happy sewing, and I'll see you next week at the gathering. Y'all have a great night, and I will see you at the spring gathering. Bye-bye.